Welcome everyone to This is Jackson. I'm your host from the Jackson School District, Barry Rosenzweig. And today we have, it's one of my favorite shows. Every year I cannot help but be so thrilled and excited to host our Teachers of the Year. Jackson School District Teachers of the Year from the elementary schools within our own school district. So let me introduce you to them right away. I get so excited. I love being with them. The best of the best, and you are getting to meet them right now. To my far left, from the Crawford Rodriguez Elementary School, Veronica Burnett, music teacher. Dun, 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 dun. A little music there. And to two people over from my left, we have Linda Sheridan. And Linda is kindergarten at the Johnson School, HCJ, all the way. Yes. And to my immediate left, Teresa Migliore. And Teresa is a first grade teacher from the Rosenauer Elementary School. And Rosenauer was the first school I ever walked into once my contract started in 1968. So that's how old I am. I got out of the Army on September 1st, 1968. That was my day of leaving the military. On September, whatever it was, 2nd or 3rd, whenever the first day of school was, that was my school I walked into.
Nice.
And Sylvia Rosenauer was the principal. So it wasn't Sylvia Rosenauer Elementary School, it was Brookwood School. So I love that school.
Yeah, I love it too.
You do too? Absolutely. So Teresa, first grade, Teacher of the Year from the Rosenauer School. To my far right, way over down there, we have from the Elm School, Alyssa Agustin, grade 1. Alyssa, welcome. And to her left, to my right here, we have Kathleen Lynch, grade 5.
Right.
Grade 5 at the Holman Elementary School. How wonderful. And to my immediate right, we have Gilda Schroyer, and Gilda's from the Swithick Elementary. Actually, the first school in the Jackson School District. Yeah. And you had your 50th anniversary years ago now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Gosh, it was like 10 years almost, I guess. And you had your 50th at Rosenauer a couple of years ago. It's like 53 now, I guess. So we are enjoying our Teachers of the Year. Congratulations to all of you. You are the best of the best. And today on This is Jackson, we will have our wonderful viewers here, our public from Jackson Township, get to visit with you, meet you, get to know who you are, what you're all about, and here we go. Are you ready? All right. What did you feel what was your reaction when you heard the announcement that you were Teacher of the Year? Why don't you start us right off, Alyssa? Go ahead.
I couldn't believe it. I really didn't think in a million years it would have been me. So thank you.
Isn't that great?
It was amazing.
It's not me. Who?
Exactly.
Oh boy, how wonderful. Well, congratulations
Thank
to you. And what about you, Kathleen?
I had an overwhelming feeling the same way, that I heard my name and I didn't really think that I heard my name. I did not. So.
Pick up the phone and get to the office. Who was that you were talking about? How wonderful.
It
Congratulations
was.
to
Thank
you too. It's great. And Gilda?
Yes, overwhelming, and I cried a lot, just so happy. My class was there with me, and they just made the celebration so amazing.
Isn't that great? Good. Teresa, what about you at Rosenauer? What happened?
Well, I was teaching a reader's workshop lesson and they made the announcement and I was shocked. And immediately after I started to cry as well and had to excuse myself and it was awesome. I'm honored.
I would think it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I had never had the privilege. I was a teacher for 21 years before I went into administration. And I never had the honor or the opportunity, to have the honor of being a Teacher of the Year. So I am so thrilled for you guys. It's super. Oh, it's so super. Linda, how did you feel? What happened?
I was actually up with my mother-in-law who was very ill, and so I got a text video in the middle of it. So a lot of emotions were going on, and it was just such a beautiful thing that they knew I wouldn't be there, so they videotaped it, and I was just choked up.
Yeah. Now, I know
thanking your
Linda
peers.
for many years too, and I know she gives, as you all do. You give of yourselves in your teaching, you give to your students. If parents need assistance, you get them in and help them as well, I know. And I know Linda's a giving person, so when you said you were with an ill family member, I know you give to your children, you give to the whole school,
Thank
you know, and I'm sure you're all the same way. So Linda,
It really was. It was so touching, and
Yes.
to be a part of a staff that's so wonderful. I mean, we have amazing teachers in the district, but Johnson School, something special about that school, and
Right.
to be part of that is just, a joy, and to be chosen.
Excellent, excellent. And last but not least, Veronica Burnett. Veronica, how did you feel when you heard the announcement?
Well, I think I get a little bit different of an experience because as a music teacher, I don't have a homeroom, and they made the announcement during homeroom. So I was in my class getting set up for the day,
All by yourself.
and I wasn't really paying attention because I just didn't ever expect that it would be me. And when I finally tuned in, I thought, did she just say Burnett? Was it Burnett?
There was no one
and
in the room to verify.
I wasn't 100% sure, and then the art teacher ran in with flowers and balloons, and I was completely overwhelmed, and the tears
Beautiful.
just start because, like you said, you're nominated by your peers,
Right.
and as a special area teacher, during a time in education that is very academic, and maybe not as placing importance on the arts, that your peers nominate you when you teach a fine or a performing art was just overwhelming.
Terrific.
So I was very, very excited. I immediately called my mother.
Oh, wonderful. So each of you loves being Teacher of the Year. Now, out of the 6 elementary schools, how many of you have your own parking space? How many? So it's
Huge.
It's Crawford and Johnson, and also Elms and Holman. Now, so you guys got your own space with a sign, Teacher of the Year, and are you using it already?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The very next day.
It's winter.
Get out with the old.
Cold.
Okay, it's wonderful because it's right in front. It's right there, easy to park, and you walk in. So it's a kind of a great special. Now, Rosenauer and Swidlick, you must do something different for your Teacher of the Year. What is different, and why do you not have, well, we don't want to say why you don't have the parking space, but what do you do special other than that?
Instead of a parking space, we celebrated. We had a nice breakfast. And
Okay.
everyone's just been wonderful. We can't have a parking space because we have the preschool students and different drop-off times, but
Right.
it's okay.
It's okay. And you had a breakfast.
We had a breakfast.
Excellent.
A very good breakfast.
Oh, well, that means I didn't cook for you, that's for sure. Okay, well, that's great. No, that's great. And what happened, Gilda? I mean, what do you do special?
Similar. Switlick is an amazing community, loving, caring, supportive. We'll all be getting together before the board meeting on Tuesday. So that's very nice. We'll all be celebrating together.
Love it.
And families will be there as well. So
Okay. Isn't that great?
Very nice.
So and it came out very interestingly, every single school, no matter which one it is of the 6 elementaries, is its own community. You have your own personality. You have your own administration, of course. Each school has its own principal. Some have assistant principals as well. But every school is terrific. And it is unilaterally the same in that we, thanks to you and your colleagues, provide our students, your children, folks out there watching. And thank you for the opportunity to let our teachers teach your children, your precious children, our students. Thank you for that honor. And these are the best of the best. Our teachers here are incredible, from K to 12, absolutely, in the Jackson School District. But thank you for giving us the honor to teach your loved ones, your little ones, your growing family, your children. Thank you. Now, you all have your feelings about this. You shared that with us. Could you share with us now a little bit about who you are as a teacher? Where were you educated? You know, what schools did you go to? How many years are you in education? Let me begin with Lisa.
I graduated from Memorial. Mrs. Burnett was my middle school coach for track, so we have
wonderful.
a history. And I went to Rowan University after graduating high school, and then right from there I was lucky enough to come back to Jackson and find a position. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Came
How
back
many-
home, so that's very touching for me
How
that I
many
get to
years
come back.
are you in?
This is my 18th year.
18 years old.
So I'm sorry.
Ouch.
No, that means no, you're just over 21. That's all. There you are.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her, by the way.
Oh.
That's wonderful. Guess what? That's what it's about too. Pride of being a teacher, pride in being an educator, and making the world a better place. Remember what Krista McCullough said. Krista said, teachers touch the future. And you do. Each of you touches the future by working with those children and giving them the opportunity to be the best that they can each one be. It's wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. Excellent. Kathleen, how about you?
I grew up in Freehold, not too far away, and graduated from Freehold Township High School and began college at William Patterson College.
Sure.
But a few years in, I decided to join the United States Marine Corps and pursued that for 4 years. And upon completion from that, continued education studies at East Carolina University. And when I graduated there in '94, I was fortunate enough to get a job in Jackson here. So I've been teaching since 1994.
Wow. Wonderful. Always fifth grade?
No, I did begin in first and third grades, and then I had opportunity to teach fifth grade when it was still in the middle schools before we had our additional elementaries, and
Right.
found out that that's where I belonged. And
Wow.
I've been in fifth grade for the last 18 years.
Wow. And were you in any other grade?
First grade all the way.
A little-
Yes, I love first grade. So
Always first grade
Always
for
first
the
grade.
18 years.
Yes.
As well. You know, I ask that because, you know, things happen in our careers, and that's why it's so interesting. That's why I asked the question. I love to know what you did and how you did and the changes. I mean, it's amazing. But I know you had the 4 years because in the Marines, because every year when we do our POW program at the elementary schools, and I have that opportunity to come to each of the elementary with my teaching partner, Marty Neff. We are veterans, and we always honor the veterans within each building that we go to. So Kathleen is always honored as a veteran in the Holman School. So let us go. Gilda Swidlick.
Yes.
Gilda, how did you get, what did you do in education? How did you get into here?
I went to Georgian Court University.
Yes, Georgian Court.
Then I worked up north in Irvington for a year, first grade.
Okay.
And then came right here to Switlick, first grade, last 18 years.
Wow. 18's a big number here. We're getting this number coming out. I may have to play that number or something when I, get on the way home. So in first grade, and that was
In
it?
first grade, yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Terrific. Teresa, how about you?
I too grew up in Jackson and graduated from Jackson Memorial High School. Went to Kean University and graduated with elementary education and started first grade at Rosenauer and have been first grade since, but 8 years.
8 years.
But 8 is sticking, but yeah. 8.
Well, the one will come
Yeah.
eventually. in the front.
vote
Look,
yes.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
Another decade, and there you go. Excellent, wonderful. So
Love it.
first grade it is too. How wonderful. Linda,
I don't know what to say. 40 years ago, I'm sad to say it, I was a nursery school teacher in the olden days. I graduated from Marymount College, and after a couple of years of nursery school, I went right to teaching adjudicated youth for the Department of Corrections. So I was still a teacher, but I worked with teenagers, pregnant women, young girls who were pregnant with their babies, and in group home situations. So I taught them basic skills and pre and postnatal care, and started a daycare center so that they could care for their babies with them. So I still kept the nursery school, preschool aspect in my life. And when my father passed away, he had always worked with the nuns in Marlborough Township, and so I said, let me just finish his dream. So I went to them and said, what can I do for you? I could teach in your classrooms, I could guidance counsel. At that point I'd been a counselor and teacher, program director. I just wanted to do the work, and they had me build a daycare center for the nuns. So in Western Monmouth County. So I worked in a preschool center, teaching teachers and involving families, special needs children as well. So I kept that, and I needed to go back to school to get my master's, because at that point, from 1977 to 1989, lots of research had been done on preschool. So I went back and got my master's at Kean University and taught there as an adjunct for a few years until I was hired by Jackson to start the preschool program, which started in Switlick. Maybe it was Getz. Switlick, then it moved to Getz, and now it's in Rosenauer. So I was involved in getting that program started for the preschools of our district, and incorporating, again, the special needs population to be included. And I think it was about 8 or 10 years ago, I moved to Johnson School to take over a first grade classroom, and now that kindergarten's full day, I'm back. I'm teaching kindergarten for full time in my senior years, back in the classroom doing what I trained my teachers to do.
not senior years. You're over
I didn't
21.
think, I didn't plan on the body failing. I thought of that. It would be really nice to finish my years doing what I love the most, being with the kids,
Yes.
and really making the changes. And to me, that's to give them a voice, to give them the opportunity to grow that voice is every day is a thrill. So that's where I am.
And Linda loves music.
Do love music.
She loves
I love music. I love to sing, and I sing every day. And I have brothers who are musicians, and I've always been asked not to sing in the family gatherings because I don't sing on key.
But you should just sing anyway.
That's
My daughter
right.
sings
There you go.
beautifully,
Singing.
but I do love to sing.
Wonderful. Well, it's wonderful. Thank you for sharing all that with us. And last but certainly not least, Veronica Burnett, music.
So I did not grow up here. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I went to college in New Jersey at Westminster Choir College in Princeton. And when I wasn't really paying attention, I realized that my certification was in New Jersey, so I better get a job here. And
It's a good
I had
idea.
applied at a couple places, and Barry Rosenzweig called my house and spoke on the phone with my mother for about 45 minutes.
She's lovely.
And I had an interview that I got lost going to, and we didn't have cell phones or GPSs back then, so I was at the Wawa by the Switlick on the payphone, knowing no one was ever going to hire me because I couldn't even find my way to the high school. And I walk into my interview, and it's Barry, and the rest is history. That was almost 30 years ago.
And it was Veronica Fox.
Veronica
at that
Fox.
time.
And I
Yes.
have been very happy to be a music teacher in Jackson since 1988
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I remember with Mr. Pollock,
with Mr. Pollock.
we
Yeah.
interviewed you in the Clayton Middle
Well, that was
School
part
at
of
that
the
time.
problem, that I was looking for the Clayton building, and people were giving me directions to Clayton Masonry and
Right.
Concrete,
Oh, no.
and I just
Jackson.
couldn't get to the high school, and it was very funny.
You can always get a job as a mason, building and
Turned out
construction.
okay in the long run.
It sure
Awesome.
did. one of the greatest hires we ever made.
Oh, thank
So-
you.
Isn't that nice?
Thank you for sharing that.
And now I live here. And now I live in Jackson.
That's right. That's right. Well, this is great. Thank you all for sharing it. I love it. I have to ask everybody this as well. I'm going to start with you, Veronica. Why? Why did you go into education?
Well, again, I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't mean to go into education. I was a huge musical theater fan, very influenced by my high school musical theater director, who they are making a TV show about called Rise. It will be on in a couple weeks. But anyway, I went to Westminster Choir College thinking it was going to be like Fame and like we would be singing and dancing on the tables, and that wasn't really it. It was a very classical school.
Westminster
And-
is, yes it is.
And I had the most amazing experiences there and the most amazing role models and mentors. And my mother insisted that I could not be a performance major, that I needed something to fall back on. So I had to be an education major. And as usual, Mom was right. And I loved being
You
a
see
music
why I
teacher.
like talking to her for 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Huh?
And it turns out you hopefully you follow the path and
Yes.
find what you should be doing.
Yes.
And you mentioned that your family has told you not to sing. One of my most passionate goals is that children love to sing, and I don't care if they're good at it or not. They get better at it. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But you get so much joy from singing or dancing or performing that you should just do it and not let anyone tell you that there's a reason that you shouldn't. So you just sing and you tell them to be quiet.
And there was,
Boy.
it's true, there was a 4-year-old once who said, Miss Sheridan, that's not happy birthday. And I've been singing that for 40 years.
But
too,
you say
I-
it is happy birthday. It's how I say
My
happy
version,
birthday.
yeah.
Right.
There you go, creative
Yes.
thinking. And did you play with Barbie dolls?
No, I did not play Barbie. I had 3 brothers, and we climbed trees and played baseball, and we had dirt bomb fights and walnut fights that never were supervised. And we grew up in a mud puddle in the back of Colts Neck with farmers, and it just I didn't own a Barbie doll. I think either did my daughter, but I just love being involved with a group of people, and teaching to me is something that's just like being part of a community and being able to make changes in people's lives. And I think that really helped, knowing that when I work with the teenagers, I realized it's really awesome when I make changes in their lives and help them, but to really get to make a lifelong change, you really need to start early to give them a voice, to give them power, to give them to make people listen to them. So I changed from teenagers to early childhood, and where I fell in love with the age. And I don't think I grew up beyond.
No, it's
I
wonderful.
relate to 4 and 5-year-olds better than most adults, I think.
Well, the younger students are more malleable because their life experiences are less, and you can direct them in the directions that you want them to think about and to who you want them to be. Gentle, caring, loving, listening, be friends to the other persons in the class and so on. Thank you.
And to actually hear
Thank
what they
you.
have to say. I don't baby them. I listen to them as humans, and I sort of enjoy their take on things, and I learn from them. I learn every year. There's something new that I learn, a new way to look at something.
Yeah, wonderful. Teresa, an educator? Become an educator?
Well, I played with Barbie dolls, but that's not the reason why.
Oh.
When I was the oldest, and
Uh-huh.
I have 2 younger siblings, and I was the first generation born here in the United States. And my parents, they didn't really understand, American education. And when we were going through the school systems, my younger siblings needed help, I needed help, and I felt like I was always teaching them. And it was something that I really enjoyed doing because my parents really couldn't do that for them. So I was their teacher from,
Really young.
from really young. And I
Wow.
just
So-
really enjoyed it. It's just something that was inside of me. And
You had OJT, on-the-job training,
On-the-job
when you
training,
were
yes.
a student yourself.
yeah. So, I
Isn't
just,
that-
Awesome.
I just kept on, I just went with it, and,
Natural.
and I'm happy. And, You know, it's great. Every day I get to go to work and I enjoy my kids, my 19 kids, and
Sure.
and just like, you know, what everyone else is saying, I learn from them, and it's great. So look forward to it.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, Gilda, you became a teacher.
Yes.
How did that happen?
I definitely always wanted to be a teacher. I just always enjoyed being with children, teaching them, talking to them, playing with them, you know, showing them what they are possible of doing, helping them to feel good. So teaching was just, you know, the way to go.
Right.
And that's what I did.
Wow.
And it's truly a joy every day, truly a joy.
You're preempting my questions because I always love to ask, and Teresa, you just did, and Gilda the same thing. But I'll come back and get the rest of you. What do you feel when you walk in every day to go to work? And you already answered it, but we'll come back to that particular kind of genre of a question. But yeah, thank you. That's why they're Teachers of the Year. The love, the passion is there. And the best part is their colleagues, their fellow teachers, their fellow educators from their particular building chose them. No administrators. Administration's not even allowed to vote. I know when I was principal, we did not even look at the ballots. Just weren't allowed to. It was simple. GA person came in, they did all the work, and they took it and worked with it and came up with the answer, and then we announced it. So what a thrill. Kathleen.
I definitely was always on that path to being a teacher from the time I was little. Before even going to school, I was the one who had the little school set up in the basement and all the desks
we
and
got
the
one.
chalkboard. And then when I
the
did
chalkboard.
start school, I have to say that the teachers that I had in the elementary school were a big inspiration. They really were the ones that at that time we walked to school where I lived, and so I didn't have to get on a bus to go home. And they were kind enough to always let me stay and hang out and wash the board or pretend to grade papers. And I loved watching or helping them set up for the next day and what pictures or projects were going to be next. And I'm talking years, even when I was now in the 4th and 5th grade, I'm hanging out back in the 1st and 2nd grade teachers.
Wow.
And I could see the time and the effort and always how much it takes to make something inspiring or fun without realizing we're learning. And I feel that I bring that still now, that on those days when I'm there at 5 and 6 and people are asking me, why are you still here? And I'm like, well, because I'm not done. I need these pieces, and it needs to be fun, and it needs to be interesting. And I remember staying till 4 and 5 o'clock. I could see some days they were probably like, we need to go home now. Isn't your mom looking for you? You know, but I feel I can emulate that in a way where I put the time in as well. I watched them do it, and it made the difference in me.
Sure. That's awesome.
Wow. I mean, there is no time clock. When you need to get something done, educators do it.
Get it?
Just do it, like the expression goes, and you get the job done. I do have one extra question I want to ask you, Kathleen. Yeah, I know. Sorry, those eyes just rolled at me. I am in trouble, folks. All right, but a serious question. Did the military help you in any way with your civilian life as a teacher now?
I would say absolutely, because while I chose that path alongside of always still wanting to do this, it showed me that how to do things that I didn't think that I would be able to do. So when I think of those moments when our instructors or drill instructors were trying to get me to do things that I didn't think I would ever be able to do, I can take that language and that way of thinking and transfer that to my students when they're having those times when they don't think that they can ever learn how to multiply those fractions or simplify this, and I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, you know, you can get there. I assure you that you can. Because I did a whole bunch of things that I never thought I would have until I realized that it was their job to make sure that I could. It wasn't their job to make sure that I couldn't. And that's what I tell my kids when they're having those days, that it's my job to make sure that you can, even if you can't right now.
Excellent.
So-
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And that's from the heart. Thank you so much. Alyssa, a teacher.
I think I always knew. It just was an instinct for me.
Yeah,
All of
you
my
said that,
siblings are educators, so there must have been something that my parents did that just kind of guided us all
Yeah.
to education.
Well,
Love it.
think about this. Who is, as a child, who is your first teacher?
My parents.
Your parents. Mom, of course, right away. But your parents. So they do, in some way, for all of us, help us think about what we learned and they taught us. They were our first
Absolutely.
teachers.
So true.
To the person, you guys love what you do. You are passionate about everything you do. Is there something that you would like to say to our viewing public about what you feel when you come in every day? I know you guys alluded to it already, so I wanted to get to our other, persons who didn't, our teachers of the year, who didn't say that. Veronica, you come in every day. What goes
Well-
through your mind when you walk in the door of the Crawford Rodriguez School?
I do a lot of things. So I walk in the door at 6:30 because I do childcare in the morning. So first I'm gearing up for childcare.
Right.
Then I'm getting ready to teach music. Then in the fall, I leave Crawford and I go to Getz and I coach cross country. And now I leave Crawford and I go to Liberty and I am the vocal music director for the musical. So for me, in the morning, it's a checklist to make sure I have all my ducks in a row, all my supplies ready, all my plans ready to go. I like to be on top of things. I like to be organized, and I still want to make sure that I'm doing things that inspire kids. Like if I'm doing, my music classes, I have K through 5. I have special education classes. So I just want to make sure that everybody is getting the best of me and the best of what they need to learn, and that music becomes something that they find a love for.
Yeah, thank you. And Linda, I know you've spoken about this already, about your love and so on, but when you walk in that door every day to Johnson School, what goes through your mind? Or even on the way driving there till you get there?
It's kind of like when I walk down the hall, the kids are already there lined up because I stay late every day. One of the things that stood on my mind was staying late every day and getting things done, organizing yourself so
Kathleen
that
said,
everything's
yeah.
ready to go. When you walk in that morning, everything's ready to run. I did the math once, and I think we make about $3.50 an hour. When it comes down to it, between the weekends and the days after, and the mornings and the checklists. But that's not why we're here, clearly. But when I walk down the hallway and see those eyes looking up and staring at me as I walk down the hallway, I feel like the queen of the Nile. And all the plans that we have, all of our lesson plans and all of our core curriculum goals that we have to achieve that day could go out the window when there's a need in the classroom. When one of those kids has had to bury a dog or a grandparent, and that comes to, they shout that out before you even get in the doorway,
Sure.
something that's going on, and that, to me, nothing else matters. Let's dig in and roll up our sleeves and see where we go with it. Don't get me wrong, I get all our goals met. We're reading on level, we're writing on level, we're doing all our math and science, but to me, being able to listen to that child and have that child vocalize what's going on, to me, that's the most important thing. So I enjoy being able to almost part the sea, let them become the teacher and the in charge of what's happening that day. So that's where I am.
Yeah, excellent. And I've got two more people that didn't share what happens with their field. So, Alyssa.
I think every day is a fresh day, so just going in, it's just, I don't know what to expect from my first graders, and I want to make sure I do my very best for them, so I go in with a positive mindset, and just, I work with wonderful people, so I love where I'm at.
It's great.
So.
Every day is a fresh day. I like
Yeah.
that too. It is, and there's no day that's ever the
No.
same as the
Never.
day
No.
before or what the next day is going to be. Ever. Kathleen,
even with all that planning or staying late, I find that then on my drive in the next morning, in just that little bit, because I live in Jackson also, I'll go, nah, I'm going to do it this way, because that'll be more fun. And I do. It's a challenge with a lot of the requirements that seem not as fun at the moment. What's a way to keep the kids still wanting to be there in the hallway, lining up and smiling at first thing in the morning? And if they feel that they're coming into a room that's not going to make them feel that they're glad they got up and came to school that day. So I appreciate when they're all present and accounted for, and I realize that they've come because even if we're doing something that might not be that fun to them, maybe I'll have found a way to get it interesting for them.
Every one of you is so unique. Absolutely who you are is beautiful. It is truly an honor for me to have brought you here today to introduce all of you as Teachers of the Year for your individual school to our viewing public. Ladies and gentlemen, we have here the best of the best. Our teachers in Jackson are incredible, and even the teachers in Jackson, in each of these schools, feel that each of these persons are the best of the best. Veronica Burnett from the Crawford Rodriguez School, music teacher for the entire building. Linda Sheridan from the Howard C. Johnson School, kindergarten teacher. Teresa Migliori, grade 1, first grade, from the Rosenauer Elementary School. Gilda Schroyer, grade 1, from Switlick Elementary. Kathleen Lynch, 5th grade. She is the highest of the high. She gets them at the top. You guys start them all off. It's great. And of course, Veronica gets to do every grade level. But grade 5 from the Holman School, Kathleen Lynch. And last but certainly not least, we have Alyssa Agustin, grade 1 also, and you are from the Elms Elementary School. All of these schools have chosen you. It is truly a pleasure to have you with us today. Is there any last thought before we leave today? And by the way, I want to say thank you to the Board of Education. You don't get enough thanks. You ladies and gentlemen who, Linda just spoke about, it's like $3.50 an hour for all the thousands of hours you guys put in after school, before school, during school, even on weekends, thinking about the things you're going to do and how you're going to make your presentations to keep it fresh, to keep the kids wanting to come to school and with those bright eyes and smiles and excitement of wanting to learn with you. But I want the Board of Education to know that we appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the programs before school, after school, the special needs students who get those special programs, all of our needs in the classroom. Thank you for listening to the supervisors that we have to go to in the classroom to then get the word to you that we need special equipment or we need some extra, whatever it may be. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being so supportive so that our Teachers of the Year and all of the other teachers can do their job and to the best of their ability so that every child can be the best that they can be. Last item. Anything you want to say? I'm just opening it up before we say goodbye for today and thank you for being here. Anybody want to say something to our parents, to anyone or to the children? Anybody have a little something you want to just end with? A thought?
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of my colleagues and to the parents. I mean, everybody has been so supportive and they've been cheering me on and so excited for me, and it's overwhelming, but I work with amazing people, so I'm
Alyssa,
so grateful.
Thank you.
I agree. My school was very supportive in this nomination, and I was overwhelmed. And I work with a lot of great people, so how they arrive at their decision has got to be a tough one.
Wow. Anybody else? Just a final word? Don't have to. No?
I just wanted to say
Okay,
something
yeah,
about
Linda?
not just the schools and the community that our schools are in, but the PTOs that work with us.
Oh, yes.
Some of the activities that they do, they are tireless, the work that they do.
Yeah.
And they don't get enough recognition for some of the things that they do for us, and they help us,
Great.
make ends meet all the time. They're always there for us.
Yeah.
And the parents that make that up, I mean, they come out on days when it's pouring rain out just to have an ice cream social, or they come out to an author's publishing party. The parents, I think in our district, are just so responsive to our kids. And that is me, as a teacher, that makes my life so much easier. When a parent really wants to teach
Sure.
their kids at home and do it the right way, they really, they're a cut above the rest. And I think that makes our lives easier. So I wanted to shout out to them.
Excellent. Good shout out, and a very appropriate one, whether it's a PTA or a PTO, and there's other names for
PTN.
PTN. I
PTA
know
makes me older.
they all have different names, but thank you, parents.
Yeah.
What
Thank
Linda
you.
said is so true. We all agree. We're all shaking our heads like this. Thank you for giving of yourself to make our job work. So thanks for being with us today. You've been watching This is Jackson, and you have met our Teachers of the Year for the 2017-2018 school year right here in the Jackson School District. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time on This is Jackson. Take care, everyone.